Welcome to the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner Prepcast, where we guide you through everything you need to know for your certification exam. Whether you're just starting or looking to refine your knowledge, this course will set you up for success. Brought to you by baremetalcyber.com. Let's get started. Analytics is one of the most powerful uses of the cloud. Organizations collect massive amounts of data every day, from sales transactions and sensor readings to social media activity, and they need tools to turn that raw information into insight. AWS provides a wide range of analytics services, and at the foundation is the concept of a data lake. A data lake is a central repository where structured and unstructured data is stored at scale, often in its raw format, until it is needed. For the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner exam, understanding what a data lake is and the AWS services that support analytics is essential. Amazon S3 is the cornerstone of AWS data lakes. It provides virtually unlimited storage at low cost with high durability and availability. Organizations store raw data in S3 before analyzing it with other AWS services. Because S3 supports multiple storage classes, lifecycle policies, and integrations, it is flexible enough to serve as the foundation for any analytics architecture. For example, a company might ingest clickstream data from its website directly into S3, then use other tools to analyze patterns. On the exam, remember that S3 is the primary storage layer for AWS data lakes. AWS Glue is a service that supports ETL, or extract, transform, and load processes. ETL is the process of pulling raw data from a source, transforming it into a usable format, and loading it into a system for analysis. Glue is serverless and automates much of the heavy lifting, including discovering schemas and creating metadata catalogs. For example, Glue might take sales data from a CSV file in S3, clean it, and prepare it for analysis in Redshift. On the exam, remember that Glue simplifies preparing and cataloging data for analytics. Amazon Athena is a query-in-place service that allows customers to run SQL queries directly against data in S3. Instead of moving the data into a database, Athena analyzes it where it sits. This makes it cost-effective and fast for ad hoc queries. For example, a marketing team could use Athena to query raw log files in S3 and find out how many users visited a website in the past month. On the exam, remember Athena as the tool for querying S3 data directly with SQL. Amazon EMR, or Elastic MapReduce, is AWS's managed big data platform. It supports frameworks like Hadoop and Spark for large-scale data processing. EMR is designed for organizations that need custom analytics pipelines and big data frameworks rather than pre-built solutions. For example, a research team might use EMR to analyze petabytes of genomic data. On the exam, remember EMR as the service for managing Hadoop and Spark workloads in the cloud. Amazon Kinesis supports streaming data analytics. Kinesis Data Streams allows real-time ingestion of data, such as sensor readings, social media feeds, or clickstream data. Kinesis Data Firehose delivers this data automatically to storage services like S3 or to analytics tools like Redshift. Kinesis Data Analytics processes streams directly, enabling near real-time insight. For example, a company might use Kinesis to detect fraudulent transactions as they occur. On the exam, remember that Kinesis services are about real-time streaming and analysis, not batch processing. AWS Lake Formation is a service that simplifies building and managing secure data lakes. It helps set up S3 as a data lake, organize data into catalogs, and apply governance policies for security and compliance. For example, Lake Formation can enforce access control so only certain teams can query sensitive data. This governance is essential for organizations operating in regulated industries. For the exam, remember that lake formation is about managing and securing data lakes on AWS. Amazon Redshift is AWS's managed data warehouse service. Unlike Athena, which queries raw data in S3, Redshift stores structured, relational data optimized for complex queries and reporting. Redshift is ideal for analyzing large datasets, building dashboards, and supporting business intelligence workloads. For example, a retailer might use Redshift to analyze years of sales data to predict seasonal demand. For the exam, remember that Redshift is AWS's data warehouse designed for structured analytics and business reporting. Amazon OpenSearch Service, formerly known as Elasticsearch, supports analytics and search use cases. It is often used for log analysis, full-text search, and real-time monitoring. For example, organizations may use OpenSearch to analyze system logs and detect operational issues. On the exam, remember that OpenSearch supports search and log analytics rather than traditional relational analytics. Amazon QuickSight is AWS's business intelligence service. It allows organizations to build interactive dashboards and visualizations that make data accessible to business users. QuickSight integrates with services like S3, Athena, and Redshift, turning raw data into visual insights. For example, a sales team might use QuickSight to track daily performance with graphs and charts. On the exam, remember that QuickSight is AWS's BI service for visualization and reporting. Data cataloging and schema management are essential in analytics. AWS Glue Data Catalog and Lake Formation provide ways to define metadata about datasets, such as column names, formats, and permissions. Without a catalog, large data lakes can become disorganized data swamps. Catalogs make it easier for services like Athena and Redshift to query data effectively. For the exam, remember that Glue and Lake Formation handle cataloging, ensuring that data is organized and discoverable. Partitioning and lifecycle policies are used to optimize both cost and performance. Partitioning means dividing datasets into smaller chunks, often by date or category, so queries can run faster by scanning only relevant sections. Lifecycle policies automatically move older data into cheaper storage classes, such as Glacier, while keeping recent data in faster storage. For example, access logs from the past month may remain in S3 standard, while older logs move to Glacier. For the exam, know that partitioning improves query performance and lifecycle policies reduce cost. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Analytics workloads generally fall into two categories: batch and streaming. Batch analytics process large amounts of data at scheduled times, such as running nightly reports on sales figures. Streaming analytics, on the other hand, processes data in real time as it is created, like analyzing website clicks or monitoring IoT sensors. AWS supports both approaches with services like Athena and EMR for batch and Kinesis for streaming. For the exam, remember that batch is about periodic processing, while streaming is about immediate insights from continuous flows of data. Choosing between Athena and Redshift often depends on the type of query. Athena is best for quick, ad hoc queries on raw data stored in S3. It doesn't require complex setup and is pay-per-query, making it cost-effective for a regular use. Redshift, by contrast, is a structured data warehouse optimized for frequent, complex queries across large datasets. It is better suited for reporting, dashboards, and long-term analytics. On the exam, know that Athena is query in place on S3, while Redshift is a dedicated warehouse for structured analytics. Glue Data Catalog integrates with multiple AWS services, including Athena, Redshift Spectrum, and EMR. It serves as a central metadata store, defining tables and schemas so queries can run consistently across tools. For example, data engineers might use Glue to define a table structure for raw logs in S3, making them queryable in Athena. This integration ensures consistency and prevents duplication of effort. On the exam, remember that the Glue Data Catalog organizes metadata and integrates with AWS Analytics services. Query performance best practices include partitioning datasets, compressing files, and using columnar storage formats like Parquet or ORC. These methods reduce the amount of data scanned, lowering both cost and time. For example, partitioning logs by date allows queries to scan only a single day instead of an entire year. Compression reduces storage and speeds up processing. For the exam, know that performance optimization in analytics often comes from reducing the size of data scanned. Security is a critical consideration in analytics and data lakes. AWS supports encryption at rest using KMS and encryption in transit with SSL/TLS. IAM policies and lake formation fine-grained permissions ensure that only authorized users and services can access data. For example, one team may have permission to read a dataset, while another can only query aggregated results. On the exam, remember that securing analytics workloads requires both encryption and access control. Data retention policies help balance cost and compliance. Not all data needs to be stored forever, and keeping it indefinitely can become expensive. Lifecycle policies in S3 allow customers to automatically move older data to cheaper storage classes or delete it after a certain period. For example, logs may be kept for 90 days before being archived. For exam preparation, remember that retention policies manage both cost and compliance obligations. S3 Object Lock provides an additional governance feature for compliance. It allows customers to write objects in a way that prevents them from being modified or deleted for a set period of time. This is valuable in industries like finance, where regulations require records to be immutable for years. For the exam, remember that S3 Object Lock ensures data cannot be altered or removed, supporting regulatory compliance. Cross-account data sharing is another important feature, supported by AWS Lake Formation. It allows organizations to share data securely with other accounts without copying or duplicating datasets. For example, a company might share analytics datasets with partners or subsidiaries. This ensures consistency while maintaining governance and access control. On the exam, know that Lake Formation manages secure cross-account data sharing in analytics environments. Machine learning integrates naturally with analytics, and AWS SageMaker is the primary tool for this. Data stored in S3 or processed through Glue and Redshift can be fed into SageMaker for model training and predictions. For example, a retail company might analyze historical sales data in Redshift, then use SageMaker to predict future demand. On the exam, remember that SageMaker connects analytics to machine learning by enabling predictive insights from data lakes. Controlling costs in analytics workloads is a constant concern. Services like Athena charge per query based on the amount of data scanned, so optimizing queries is important. Redshift offers reserved instances for savings, while lifecycle policies reduce storage expenses. Monitoring tools like Cost Explorer and Trusted Advisor highlight areas of waste. On the exam, remember that cost control in analytics depends on optimizing queries, storage, and service selection. Compliance is another essential factor for analytics workloads. Many industries require strict controls on how data is stored, processed, and accessed. AWS services like Lake Formation, IAM, and CloudTrail provide the tools to enforce and document compliance. For example, CloudTrail logs can prove who accessed data, while Lake Formation enforces access restrictions. On the exam, remember that AWS provides the tools for compliance, but customers must configure and apply them properly. Analytics use cases are broad and growing. Retailers use analytics to forecast sales, healthcare providers analyze patient data for better outcomes, and media companies study viewer behavior to recommend content. Even small businesses use QuickSight dashboards to monitor performance. On the exam, expect to see analytics presented as a way to turn raw data into meaningful insights, supporting smarter business decisions across industries. For exam preparation, focus on the key analytics services. S3 for data lakes, Glue for ETL and catalogs, Athena for ad hoc queries, Redshift for data warehousing, Kinesis for streaming, Lake Formation for governance, OpenSearch for log analysis, and QuickSight for visualization. You don't need to know every technical detail, but should recognize which service applies to a given scenario. This knowledge ensures you can answer confidently and understand how AWS supports modern analytics. As we close this episode, remember that AWS turns raw data into insights through its analytics and data lake services. S3 forms the storage foundation, Glue and Athena prepare and query the data, Redshift powers structured analysis, Kinesis supports real-time streaming, and QuickSight delivers business intelligence. Governance, security, and cost management ensure these workloads remain reliable and efficient. For the exam, focus on the role of each service. In practice, these tools transform data lakes into powerful engines of innovation and business growth. That concludes today's episode of the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner Prepcast. Be sure to tune in for the next episode and visit us online at baremetalcyber.com or cyberauthor.me for more resources, including news, mailing lists, YouTube videos, podcasts, and much more.